Agents who thrive won't be the ones who just work harder. They'll be the ones who influence people face to face in a way no competitor can.
Good morning and welcome to another Motivational Monday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President here at LPT Realty. I'm joining you from LPT headquarters. I'm going to bring in Robert Palmer, founder and CEO, who is joining us from Stewart, Sailfish Point down in Hutchinson Island. And it's funny, Robert, because I'm like, texting him a minute ago. So if you don't know, Robert is famous for like literally sliding in at the last minute. Like everyone's like, where's he at? When's he going to be here? So I'm thinking like, man, he's cutting it really close. And apparently you're in a whole nother city.
Think about all the amazing AIU events we've done. The AIU Summer Mastermind we did a couple of weeks ago was awesome. And so much good feedback from that. Just 3-day mastermind, tons of knowledge sharing. Now we've got the team growth Summer Mastermind coming up down here in Stewart. Just so much amazing stuff going on, man. It's really great. Yeah, we continue to redefine, what does it mean to create community, create culture, to serve agents at the highest level in this newer, single entity, non-franchise national brokerage. And, look, we don't claim to have all the answers. We just continue to try to figure it out. And I think if you look at some of the other national brokerages, they just gave up. They just took like the little things that the legacy franchises used to do, tried to make it bigger without really trying to reinvent the sector. And as I really sit back and look at everything we've accomplished over the last 3 years, the growth, the transaction count, launching Aperture, LPT being top 10 in the US and more like top 7 or top 6 now because we've continued to grow since those numbers came out last year. Just insane when I look at the year-over-year growth of transaction counts by month. Like everything is just absolutely amazing. And I think it is this commitment we made to really looking at the model differently, doing AIU, having things like team growth and LPT plus, and this commitment to individual definition of success. I mean, you guys hear me talk about this every week, but it really is amazing how powerful and how needed it was in this industry. And it's nice to know we're doing the right things and that even in a very tough time, people are winning with the LPT tools and the LPT systems and, the LPT brokerage behind them. So it's really been exciting.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So
and yeah, it's nice out there. It's a little hot, but like my favorite palm tree right there next to us.
Yeah, it literally looks fake, man. It looks like a fake background. So beautiful. There's this
great little spot down on some rocks that I take Reagan to. And like, we just talk about life, we just share knowledge and we go sit down there around sunrise. And it's really cool. There's these 2 sets of rocks that make up one of the jetties. So like it's the northern jetty of the inlet and there's like 2 rows of rocks. And right between those 2 rows of rocks, it creates this really cool like tide pool and just the sand in there. And her and I'll just go hang out in there and watch the sunrise. And I'm excited to get to do some of that next week as a part of this mastermind with our team growth folks. Yeah. So really
awesome. Cool. Looking forward to it. Okay, cool. We're going to do 2 things real quick. One, let's start off with a market update, just to kind of get an understanding of what's happening, if things are shifting. And then I'm super excited to go to the next topic because as you were kind of talking about, previously you were saying like, hey, listen, we're doing something different. You're approaching things differently. You've scaled LPT. Like if we're zooming out now and saying like you as an entrepreneur scaled this brokerage, to nationwide 50 states plus Canada. And you've had all these mechanisms in place and people want to know, how do you scale? How do you grow? And you did it. And you have this philosophy that says, hey, you prepare for the bust and the boom and the boom and the bust. And so you're going to be talking about some systems. I'm super excited for us to jump into it. So we'll get to that in 1 second. But, I just want to frame it in the sense that, we have the opportunity now to hear what you're going to say through the lens of like someone who's built big businesses and scaled them. And you are going to be pouring that knowledge downwards and saying, hey, let me walk you through the steps that it takes. Should that be your version of success? Let me walk you how to do these things and put some things in place to help you do it. So super excited that, but let's start with the market update. I know we had some key data last week, from the Fed and maybe some guidance on what's going to be happening in short term. Where are we landing from a market update standpoint?
Yeah, we continue on this uncertainty path. We continue. The rates are better than they've been. So blessing there. A lot of that has actually been created by mortgage spreads, not by the bond market. So there's a couple of concepts at play here. One is, where is the 10-year treasury? Where is the over long-term overall long-term bond market. And there's a spread that exists between the mortgage rates and those treasury rates, and those have narrowed. And so that's actually saved us from some of the losses because the treasuries have sold off a little bit, not been as strong as they were, but those mortgage spreads narrowed, which kept mortgage rates at pretty good levels, which is good for us. Again, nothing to get too excited about, but we're in a good spot overall. We've had some stability around mortgage rates for a couple of months now. Again, not as low as we'd like to see them, but better than ping-ponging around and definitely better than getting higher. Inflation data was a little hotter than what the Fed would have liked to have seen last week. So again, we have these conflicting data streams, right? The jobs report comes out and says, hey, a lot less jobs created than we thought, not just this month, but the last 3 months. So the jobs market is not as strong maybe as the Fed thought it was. How is that going to impact their decision making? But then on the flip side, inflation was a little bit hotter. Well, how much of that's because of tariffs? How much of that is just because of the economy as a whole? Because I would tell you this, the thing that mortgage investors, and that's ultimately who drives mortgage rates, is those mortgage bond investors, the funds and the foreign governments and our government, everyone buying these mortgage bonds and U.S. treasuries is what drives it. And the thing they care about even more than whether or not the Fed is going to cut rates is inflation. Because if you invest money in a mortgage bond, and that money is going to be tied up in that mortgage bond for 10 years or 15 years, the biggest enemy to your earning on that bond is inflation. And so a lot of the times those two things get mixed together because the Fed is saying, hey, we're going to move our rates around in a way to fight inflation. But if all of a sudden the markets feel that the Fed is cutting, but inflation is still a really real risk, we could actually see mortgage rates not come down. We could actually see mortgage rates get a little bit worse if the Fed started cutting rates. So again, uncertainty is still the name of the game. We need more data on inflation. We need more data on what's going on with the jobs market. And we need some guidance from the Fed. They're meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, not too far from where my place is in Montana here, later this week. To talk about kind of the State of the Union and how they're thinking about things. And so we're going to get some Fed speak later this week out of Jackson Hole. This is always something that can move the markets. We saw the Jackson Hole speech move the markets last year because it was when the Fed first signaled they were going to start cutting rates. And at the time, that was powerful because the belief was that inflation was under control. Now that there's some skepticism around inflation, it could actually backfire if the Fed signals in the wrong way. So we're going to be watching that closely. Again, I'm a strong believer that we have all this pent-up demand, right? We have a situation where a lot of people who were going to buy or sell homes in 2022 or 2023, they did it early. They did it in 2020. They did it in 2021 because they were given once in a lifetime interest rates. And they were given this highly accelerated rate of appreciation, creating this fear of missing out. That was like, if I don't buy now, I'm going to pay too much and I'm going to miss the rates. And so a lot of that volume pulled forward. And that caused us to suffer as an industry for 2022 and 2023 as rates went up. Now in 2024 and 2025, we're seeing the opposite effect where people are pushing the decision out. They're pushing the decision forward, waiting for things to change and get better. What that means is that when things do get better, there will be a massive boom. There will be a massive spike in transaction count. And so one of our big focuses here at LPT is how do we make sure that our agents are ready for that? How do we make sure that we prepare you with the right systems and education and tools and playbooks to go win and be ready for when that happens? Because I'm telling you, man, the longer we sit here, the more of a guarantee it becomes. Yep. Had rates gone down a year ago, right? Like, let's rewind a year. 1 year ago, Jackson Hole, the Fed says, hey, inflation's under control. We're going to start dropping rates. We kind of celebrate as an industry. If that had happened then, more people would have bought and sold homes each of the last 12 months. Instead, they're still pushing the decision out, which means there are more people who need to buy or sell who are delaying the decision to buy or sell than there would have been a year ago. That's right. And so the longer this drags on, the more powerful the transition from bust to boom is going to be. Just like on the flip side, there was so many powerful dynamics during the pandemic that we saw the worst ever boom to bust. Now on the other side, because it's drug on a couple years too long and we're loading that momentum, the transition from bust to boom is going to be bigger and faster and more powerful than what we predicted a year ago. So we need to be ready for that. And that's a big part of what I've been working on. You know, we talk a lot about it, Matt. Like, my role for the last 3 years with LPT has really been about building the business, right? When I come on Motivation Monday, I share market updates, I share what's going on with the brokerage. At our last couple of Grand Prix events, you know, I've really focused more on unveiling new systems. Like, we had so much to build. Like, we were taking this brokerage from 0 to top 10. Now I said probably top 6 or 7 in the US in just 3 years. And so I didn't really have a lot of time to focus on one of the things that I do love, which is building those playbooks and those systems and those guides. And something I did a lot of back in the day, back in like 15 and 16, when we were first launching Listing Power Tools. And so I made a decision a couple of months ago. I guess it really started around this year's Grand Prix, which I wasn't able to attend. I was out west in Montana. That I needed to do something there. I needed to commit some time. I needed to get involved. And so I took a step back and I looked at what I thought kind of the 3 biggest things that I could bring real value to our agents, to build out these systems and certifications and playbooks and guidance around it. And that's one of the things we're going to get into today. I know you teased it in the email blast for Motivation Monday, but it all goes back to this idea of the current market conditions are loading us for a bust to boom transition that will be bigger than anything most of us have seen other than COVID, right? And COVID was just so weird because it was like a crash and then a rebound. Other than COVID, and that one was, again, very weird because in some states we couldn't show houses. We didn't know if we could leave the house. Were we going to catch this bug? Like, what was going on? In a more normalized market where you can prepare for it, because no one knew that was coming, right? There was no preparation. As far as the bust to boom transition that we can prepare for, we can get all of our tools firing. This is the one.
To your point, just to understand the way to think about this, the longer that we sit in this market, that people who are pushing off that purchase or selling their home is boiling up. It's coiling like a spring. And so at some point, there's going to be a favorable economic something that's going to change. People are going to start saying, yes, I'm interested in starting to do these transactions. And that's going to swing us in the other direction where we feel this acceleration of, hey, we went from selling 2 houses a month to 5 or 6 houses a month. And so the agents who are most prepared for that transition are going to be the ones who get the biggest line share, right? They're going to take the most market share from agents who are not prepared for it. And so the systems we're going to talk to today are going to be how to maximize into that transition. Is that accurate to think about it that way?
Yeah, that's it, man. That's really what I've been putting all of my time and effort into. And I've put a ton of time and really taking all of my resources, my experience, and how do I build these roadmaps? How do we put together these certifications? How do we build something that is absolutely going to prepare agents for that next boom? Because it's coming, it's going to be big. And I think too, you know, we're seeing this awkward time where right now feels really tough, you know, and again, and the tougher right now feels, the more of a launch we're going to see. Because remember, I'm talking about the scale of the transition. And so if you go back prior to COVID, we were in like the 5 million home sales mark. And so going from 5 million home sales to 6.5 million home sales was only it's a 30% jump, right? Like, so while I don't know that we'll beat the 6.5 million headline, going from 4 million home sales to even 6 million is a 50% jump. It's a bigger transition because we're so low right now. And that's really what's going to feel different. It's the scale of the move, right? I don't think we're going to necessarily get to 7 million home sales like we were at COVID, but going from 4 to 6 is a bigger jump percentage wise than going from 5 to 6.5 or 5.2, 5.3 where we were to almost 7. So again, it's thinking about this in the context of how big the move is.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We teased it on the weekly email that went out for Motivational Monday. Make sure that you guys don't miss it. I've been so excited because in my own personal career, I've had the opportunity to experience a lot of these playbooks that you put in place. You know, when I first started getting into geo-farming, when I was first experimenting with digital ads, you know, you were guiding us and me, not just myself, a group of agents who all our businesses exploded because we were, you know, dialing into what you were saying. You haven't had the opportunity to recreate this, and I know this is where your passion lies, because you've been, like you said, at previous conferences talking about the technology we were going to bring and how we were going to scale, and that was the main focus. But now you have the opportunity to go back and say, hey, all right, let's jump in and figure out these playbooks on what the next transition, as you just described, probably the biggest move we'll experience in quite some time. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm just going to ask you a lot of questions because I really, really want to make sure we understand how to think about this and what's coming. So we've got 3 categories here: the in-person influencer series. We've got the Step Up Your Price Point series, and then the AI Advantage. And we've heard a lot about AI recently. We even discussed that on Real Estate First Friday, how people can over leverage it, but what is that healthy time to kind of jump into technology? I know that you've said, hey, we're getting to that place where this makes sense for us to finally start putting some momentum and helping people understand how to leverage it. So let's start with number 1, the in-person influencer series. Walk me through this.
Yeah. So again, man, so you gotta think, I haven't written a book about this since 2014, 15, when I published Listing Power. I was doing a lot of seminar sessions back then. I was doing content like this, putting together systems and processes and playbooks like this, I was on stage at NAR, at FAR, we did the Listing Power book launch. And so really, I realized I needed to take a step back and put some time and energy into this because I needed to put these systems together, put this educational tracks together for our agents. And so in-person influencer is all about how do we take the strategies that we're seeing work online? How do we take the strategies that we see work on things like TikTok and Instagram? And then how do we apply those to our real world real estate business? How do we apply them to a neighborhood? How do we apply them to the area around a listing? How do we apply them in our sphere of influence? And so that's the in-person influencer series. And we're going to go deeper in these later in the show, but just want to kind of get them at a high level. And this is important because this is the one you need to start now. And so we're going to get this launched here in the next 60 days as a part of FallCon. And that gives you time to put these playbooks into place around the in-person influencer series and certification so that you're ready for that next boom. Because the folks who start to put these concepts of going viral inside your sphere, going viral in a neighborhood, like doing these things now is what's going to get you ready and have you in position for when that boom happens. The second one is the step up in price point. And again, this is not saying go luxury. This is saying increase your price point. If you're selling $400,000 average price point, how do we get you to 480? Every market that has 400 has 480. If you're selling 250, how do we get you to 325? If you're selling 600, how do we get you to 720? Every market has the opportunity for agents to step up their price point by 20%. And this becomes critical during a boom because when transaction count is massive and we're maxed out on our capacity, that step up in price point is the key to maximizing your earnings and building for the next bust because it will ultimately come. And then finally, the AI advantage. So I have purposely delayed our jump into AI because it was too early. A lot of people have heard me talk about this. I use the NFL example of a great running back waits for the hole to develop. They don't just take the ball and run straight into the play. They take that extra minute, they take a stutter step, they move around, they wait for the play to develop before they run at the line. And that's how we're approaching AI. When you look at the massive advancements, if someone had adopted AI all in back in 2022 or 2021 when GPT-2o came out. And most people here didn't even hear about GPT-2o because it wasn't very good. And then when GPT-3 came out, which is when the AI boom started, because the leap from GPT-2 to GPT-3 was like massive. I mean, you had to relearn everything. Any types of systems and processes you built around 2 were basically wiped out and you had to start over when 3 came out because it was such a massive move up in the technology. And so if you'd run all in at GPT-2o, you were running at the wrong hole. You were running at the wrong place in the line. And so then we see GPT-3 come out and then boom, GPT-4 hits, another massive move forward. GPT-4 moves the ball forward in a massive way. People who had built big businesses around GPT-3 had to go to GPT-4 and everything changed. We've seen that slow down. The change between 4 and 5 has not been that dramatic. The things and systems you built around GPT-4 mostly still work the same way at 5. That was not the case from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. The other dynamic we're seeing is all of the models are starting to get pretty close together. You go back a couple of years, ChatGPT had a massive advantage over everybody else. Now all of a sudden, Grok, GPT, Anthropic, Gemini, they're all starting to look very similar to each other, which means we're hitting this convergence point, which means that the velocity of AI innovation at the model level is slowing, which is good, because that means it's now time for us to get serious about it, because we won't have to rewrite our playbooks in 12 months when a new model comes out. So now is the time to go all in on AI, because that AI growth curve has slowed down just enough that we can put our resources into play. And we're going to show you how to use those models in a sustainable way, in a long-term practical way, which is not the case for 2.0, not the case for 3.0. And I'll tell you, they hyped up what was coming after 4.0 so much that we thought we weren't there, but a lot of it was just hype. This move to AGI, we're not as close as they thought we were. It's very evident in what's happened in the recent slowing of the progression of the model. So this is when we go all in, because guess what? Now that the large models are slowing down on their innovation, we now get to innovate more as the users, as the companies riding on those models. And so that's why we're making this a top priority as one of these 3 certifications and training systems.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into some details on some of those things. I think that's a great overview on how to think about each one of those buckets. Again, something that you can implement right now. Maybe you're thinking about viral a little bit different. People think viral and they think beyond their reach, right? But going viral in your sphere or in your neighborhood is a concept that I don't think people know a lot about. So excited to explore what all of those means. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a little more detail here with the next slide.
Why are we stepping in to do this, right? There's all this knowledge on YouTube. There's all these trainers out there, and the real estate business is shifting beneath our feet. So today, there's more competition for transactions. Buyers and sellers are tougher to convert. AI is rewriting the playbook for how business gets done. But we all know the next boom is coming. There is no denying the next boom is coming. And the longer things stay where they are, the more the boom will get here. Agents who thrive won't be the ones who just work harder. They'll be the ones who influence people face to face in a way no competitor can. That's this idea of the in-person influencer. Consistently earn more per deal by stepping into a higher price tier. Again, I'm not saying go luxury. I'm saying go from 400 to 480, 500 to 600, from 250 to 320, right? Those small step ups in price point, and then harnessing AI to outproduce and outsmart the competition. Because there are 1.5 million real estate agents to sell to, our industry is rife with mediocre systems. Like, there's a couple of things we don't have problems with. We don't have a lack of training. We have a lack of quality training. You can go on YouTube right now and watch a million videos. The problem is half of them are terrible. They're wrong. They're written by people who have no idea, have never done it, have never had the success. They're filled with these broken promises of success, and they're mostly designed by people who have not achieved that success. And so this is where I think we have an opportunity to step into the gap. We have proven success. LPT has proven success. I have proven success. I know the folks who are the experts on all these topics that we're bringing in to help us with these certifications. So after spending that $150 million on marketing and advertising, building some of the most successful sales organizations in existence, scaling LPT to number 10 in the US so quickly that Real Trends didn't believe us. Remember that clip? I've been back in the lab preparing these 3 groundbreaking certifications and systems, which again was a shift for me. I took some time away from coding and from running the business, and I thought it was important that we make the internal investment in building out these systems, because this is what you need in order to succeed and thrive in that next boom. So why am I doing this again? You could try to figure out these strategies on your own. You can hunt for bits of information online. You can piece together scripts, test tactics, but that means wasting months and years of trial and error. And even then, there's no guarantee you'll get it right. Time is the one resource you can't replace. I learned this early on in life. Every month you spend fumbling through DIY experiments is a month of lost opportunity. We win together. All right. When we put this together, I see in the chat, these certifications will absolutely work in Canada. This stuff is universal. These principles apply to everywhere that real estate is bought and sold. And the truth is simple. Not being prepared for the market turn will cost tens of thousands of dollars. And I want to make sure that that is not us. That is everyone else. That is not going to be LPT, because we are investing in the training and systems and resources around these 3 critical topics that will allow you to dominate when the market shifts. In-person influencer system and certification, little deep dive here. I'm not giving it all away because, again, these are going to be deep classes that we're teaching, but we've got the influencer collateral blueprint, assets that win clients before the first meeting and commit the client after a single meeting, going viral in real life, offline buzz strategies that fuel referrals, fuel more business in your sphere, in your neighborhoods, the buyer influence blueprint, how to win that buyer at the kitchen table, whether they're an online lead, whether it's a sphere, giving those presentations, creating that influence, listing advantage playbook, influence by invitation, how to create events that turn your friends into clients and your clients into friends. And then finally, our follow-up influence methods. We're going to be teaching all of this because you need to establish yourself as an in-person influencer to be ready to be known when the next boom comes. Our price point step-up system, again, this one is massive. How to use leads for a step-up, how to use internet leads to attract higher value buyers and sellers, how to use YouTube and social media for that step up. Again, this is things like, hey, if you've been reviewing burger joints, let's start reviewing steakhouses, right? Let's start reviewing neighborhoods that have those higher price points. We're going to give you the playbook to use all of these different tactics, farming and direct mail, move up buyer strategies, target people in the price point you sell today, because if they're moving up, they're going to a higher price point. How do we help you raise your average deal size by 20% without switching markets, without going luxury, just by focusing in on the right transactions, the right marketing, the right borrowed listings and open houses, and showing up in the right way? You've got to step up your presentations in order to step up that price point. All right. When you max out on capacity, the step up in price point is key. And I am predicting there will be a time when we are going to max out on capacity, just like we did during the COVID boom, when this next boom comes. And so this ability to step up our price point becomes key. And then finally, the AI advantage. I talked about this one a lot. AI has been hot. We've been a little quiet on it. We've waited. We wanted to come in at the right time. We're going to go deep. We're going to give you the systems and the playbooks on AI for marketing, AI for nurturing, AI-powered presentations, AI for video and social, AI for lead conversions, AI for transactions, AI for productivity. I got like 10 more of these. They do not all fit on the slide. We have been going super deep. And look, I've been in the AI game longer than most. We've been doing machine learning and transformers and gates and a lot of the back-end technology behind AI since the original Listing Power Tools days. When we launched homevalue.com the first time, we had a whole team of data scientists and we were early. The technology was early for us. And I think this is why I understood this need to wait and to step into the gap at the right time. Because when I tried to step in early in the homevalue.com and Listing Power Tools days back in 2015, we wasted a lot of money. And the things that we tried to build back then that didn't just quite work are now a laydown with where technology has gone. So we're pulling all of that decade of experience that I have with big data, with machine learning, the folks I know that are accelerating in those spaces, some of my friends from Montana that are crushing in these spaces and have made ridiculous amounts of wealth. They're leaning in to help us put together this amazing AI advantage system and certification. So that's the three high-level things we're focused on there, Hodge. And I mean, again, I'm excited to teach this. I'm excited to put this together. I'm excited to make this a part of AIU next year with these AIU certification tracks. And again, through AIU, they will be available to all agents, not just LPT agents, as a part of our AIU. That's our industry-facing initiatives at AIU.
Awesome, man. I'm super excited for that. Yeah, it's going to be so important, man, to really understand these concepts, because again, if you're thinking about, not just wrapping up 2025, but you're thinking into the next year of 2026, what is business going to look like as things start to expand? How are you going to use that opportunity to really help yourself grow your business, if that's what your version of success is? And so this is going to put you in position to do that. We actually had sessions called Anything But AI, because everyone is so fascinated with AI and how to leverage it in their business and make it work. And that's just one of the three things that are important here. But again, now is the right time to start understanding those things and preparing for it, so that as things start to expand, you can leverage these things to help create more efficiencies in your business, help you go faster, further. We're excited to know more about that.
Each of these certifications, we are running like a specialized discipline. All right. The in-person trainings, the playbooks, the community, the certifications. And so they're going to be $2,500 each through AIU. All right. And again, now that's coming next year. All right. And that is through AIU. That is not for all of our current amazing LPT agents. But next year, $2,500 a piece. That's how we're going to do this. The reward for believing in LPT is we're going to do all three of these certifications and all the content included at FallCon for no extra charge. So your fall con ticket, your $1,099 fall con ticket, which is still the lowest price convention of any of our competitors, now also includes $7,500 worth of certifications. All right. These certifications will be sold next year. They're going to be a part of AIU. I promise you, a ton of agents are going to pay us $2,500, and they're still a steal. I mean, these things could easily go for $5,000 or $10,000 a piece, $2,500 a piece next year as a part of AIU. But at FallCon, we're going to include them at no extra charge. That $1,099 FallCon ticket just got a whole lot sweeter because we're giving you the $7,500 worth of my 3 certifications, and you're getting them 2 months early because we're going to do them at FallCon, which is in mid-October, where they're not going to be available through AIU until 2026. I get there's people, they're like, hey, what does this look like? FallCon, 1 ticket, 3 agent growth certifications, unlimited upside, the $2,500 in-person influencer series, the $2,500 price point step-up series, the $2,500 AI Advantage series, right? And boom, you get them all at FallCon for our $1,099 ticket. Because I know there's some folks right now saying, you know what? I haven't bought my ticket yet for FallCon because I don't have the $1,099. And yes, right now you can buy the ticket for FallCon for $1,099 with your credit card. I know money's tight right now. I want everybody to be able to participate. So I'm going to front the cost of your FallCon ticket, and we'll take $1,299 out of your next closing instead. All right. I want everybody to come be a part of FallCon. I want everybody to get these certifications now. I don't want you to have to wait until next year. So if you don't have the $1,099, I'm going to put up $250,000 so we can front $250,000 worth of tickets and take them out of your next closing for $1,299. Now you are paying a little bit more. I got to give you some incentive to pay us today because I want to make sure only the people who really need this are using it. So please, if you have the $1,099, please put it on your credit card. Save that $250,000 I'm putting away to finance tickets for the people who really need it, who are going to pay us $1,299 back on their next closing instead, but you need to go grab it. You need to probably do it right now. Next slide, we're going to show you the QR code because I'm doing $250,000 worth of that. That's about 200 tickets that I'm going to cover with this pay at closing thing. They'll probably go during Motivation Monday. We've got thousands of people on this call right now. I know a lot of people have not been able to go and register for FallCon because they didn't have the $1,099 today. The market has been tough. I totally understand that. And so we're doing this where you can put the $1,299 for your FallCon ticket on your next closing, whenever that is, but only for the first $250,000 of the tickets. So scan the QR code now and jump on there. If you need to grab one of those pay at closing spots, I would encourage you to do it as quickly as possible. AIUFallCon.com. You can scan the QR code there. It will take you there October 15th through the 18th, 2025. Okay. And boom, this is at Orlando World Center Marriott. We're doing this. We're doing 3 days together at FallCon. Next slide. And so, Haj, recap on our stuff. This is where we're at. You know, what do you think? I hope everybody can make it. I hope we're gonna sell out FallCon. And I'll tell you this, if we do sell out FallCon, we will look to make a digital version available. It's still going to be the same price if you do it digitally, but if you can't travel, if you can't cover the hotels, everything else, if we sell out FallCon, we will look at making this available for a digital option as well, for a remote live option as well.
It's exciting because, one, not only is this going to be so useful for our agents and helping them grow their business and achieving their version of success, but on the other side of it too is that you're giving people the ability to have flexible payment options. We get it. Right now, it's been a tough market. Everybody knows it. Not everybody is growing, but these are the things that you have to put in place if you're going to break that cycle. And, you know, it's like you have to spend money in order to make money. And that's the hardest to do when you're feeling pinched, right? And that's starts a, you know, the deceleration. But if you are willing to say, hey, look, I will bet on myself. I know I'm going to have another closing in the future. I'm going to go ahead and make this investment because I want to be prepared for when the market turns. I want to have my unshare fair advantage. This is what you've got to do. And I'm so excited for this content. I cannot wait to dive in deep with this with our agents and see how they transform their businesses. But more importantly, you know, it's so appreciative to have a leader who says, hey, let me think about the best ways to support my team, support my people, and make it so flexible that anybody who has a desire can come. It's not, you know, barriers are, as we are eliminating as many as possible, you know, so I think it's really just
I'm going to throw it out right now. I see so many people saying, hey, can we get the digital? If you want the digital, we're going to do the digital. So go on there, grab your ticket.
Just give it in.
If you buy a FallCon ticket and you can't afford to come see us in person, now there's some things you're not going to get. There's some workbooks and some stuff that we're going to give to the in-person attendees that we're not going to be able to ship out to our remote, but you're going to get the content, you're going to get the certifications. If you can come, you need to come. But if you absolutely cannot, we're going to make that digital link available for you. If you can make it at all, make the investment. We got a great hotel room rate at the Marriott. We're going to make this a win for everybody. But again, this is about everyone having access. This is about everyone at LPT winning for that next boom. All right.
That's right.
The bust to boom transition is going to be a massive one. All right. So the pay it off for closing ends when $250,000. So when 200 people take it, that's gone. Maybe you're going to twist my arm and get me to throw a little more money in. I don't know. But right now it's $250,000 that I'm going to front in order for you guys to pay at closing. I mean, I want everybody to win, Hodge. You know, I can't.
I know. I see it all the time.
Family. So I need a bunch of people to come in person. All right. We cannot blow up our in-person event because I'm going to make the digital available. All right. We may have to limit the number of digital tickets. I don't know where to figure that out. I want everybody to win. I want you to register. I want you to be able to grab that $1,299 option to pay at closing. If you can't afford the $1,099, if you can, please put it on your credit card so that you don't take one of those slots from somebody who really needs it. I'm looking forward to spending time with everybody in person. There will be some masterminds and some things that don't Zoom out, but we'll make sure that we do Zoom out the certifications. I saw somebody ask, what if they have to leave early? We'll work that out as long as you come to a couple of days of it. We'll figure out how to get you the digital or get you a makeup session. Again, I want everybody to win, and I want everybody to win with us at FallCon. And I want you to have these 3 certifications because I know how much of a difference this will make on your business, which also makes a big impact on our business. This is how LPT wins. This is how LPT does more transactions in 2026. As our agent count grows and our agents become more productive, which we've seen happen. And I know these certifications are a big part of that. We all win together. So grab that QR code, AIUFallCon.com. All right. Or grab the QR code, go on there right now, grab one of those slots. So there's 2 links. There's one that says, I'm going to pay $1,099 with a credit card. You hit that. It's going to swing you over to Ticket Spice. You're going to put in your credit card, get your ticket that way. The second option is I'm going to pay $12.99. You go on there, you fill out your information, you click a little button that says, I commit to pay out of my next closing, and we'll get you your FallCon ticket. We want everybody to win together. Stay focused. Stay true. We are doing the right things to win because I'm telling you, this bust to boom is coming. It's going to be massive. We can't say when. And honestly, at this point, Hodge, I'm hoping it takes a little longer because the longer it takes, the more we're going to win when it hits. Right. And the more time we have to be prepared, the more time we have to get these certifications and these systems and courses in people's hands so that they can win. So for me, perfect time would be like mid next year. We see this big transition from bust to boom, and we all dance and win together and have a fantastic time. Make it a great week. Make sure you jump on AIUFallCon.com, grab those tickets before we sell out. We'll figure out the arrangements on the digital version. I love you all. Make it a great week.